Thank you. We are going to start now. Thank you. Thanks a lot for attending the webinar about quality control of complex chromatograms. We are very happy. We have here, it's the end of the day in Ireland, but we have a lot of people from all over the world. For this session, it's more mainly based in US, Brazil, Pakistan, and Spain, and many more. So I'm David Lawyer. I'm taking care of international business development of GCLC Concordance software. Please, if you have any question related to the presentation or the software, send them to us to the email below. That's my email here. Or if you have any question, maybe at the end of the webinar, you can put up some questions. Okay, so the problem. Today's chromatography instruments are highly efficient, but analytical interpretations of results are still based on old manual and tedious control. Therefore, they are subject to error. That's what we put in the email, and this is the main problem in a lot of laboratories. So the solution, an intelligent software based on neuronal algorithms, solving random retention time shift. The name of the software is GCLC Concordance. It's been made by a team composed of Raymond Lawyer and an engineer team with 30 years of experience in chromatography analysis, working at different companies like Perfumes, Varian, and Thermo Fisher. The typical industry is using GCLC Concordance, the fragrance industry, obviously, essential oils industry, food aroma, but not only. We also have clients working in the wine industry for wine's vintage recognition, in the agricultural industry, and in the pharmaceutical industry with a company, for example, like doing some research on Alzheimer, Parkinson, and they are based all over the world, Australia, China, Vietnam. The compatibility of GCLC Concordance, all the instruments brand that you may know, you're probably familiar with them, and also it doesn't require any modification of your current chromatographic methods. The key of Concordance, a specific neuronal process, up to 100 million calculations for one comparison of two chromatograms. There are two modes, automatic mode in retention time and retention index, or COVATs, for the quality control, the norm or fingerprint database, and semi-automatic with settings and retention index databases for identification, quantification, research. So GCLC Concordance solves retention time shifting in GC and HPLC. You may know the reason of the random shift in GC and HPLC, mainly due to the age of the column, the aging of the columns, injection mode, gas control, temperature control, chemistry of the injected product, etc., etc. GCLC Concordance compensates small retention time shifts, like we have in this on this image, but big retention time shifts due to the aging of HPLC and GC columns. Here we have a 2 minutes shift between these two chromatograms. We are going to see this more in details in the software itself. Concordance works with the PICS integration. So indeed we use the integration of the PICS and calculate the difference between their areas. So typically, here are the integration files from different instruments, one from Perfumes here, Thermo Fisher, Agilent from the HP Chem. So what's important to us, like for Concordance, is obviously the retention time and the area. Sometimes you can have also the molecule, but it's not compulsory. The representation of chromatograms in GCSE Concordance, so this is a classic representation, and in Concordance, as you will see in a few seconds, we represent the peaks by some lines, by a peak by a line basically, and the height of the peak corresponds to the area of the peak. So we put the sample at the top, the reference at the bottom, and in between you have the concordance area where you can see what peak match what other peak. Okay, so let's start with the first topic, improving the quality control of perfumes and aromas in gas and liquid chromatography to improve productivity and accuracy. So I'm going to start, it's already open, but let me start from, I close it and I restart it just to show you. There we go, double click and Concordance starts. So we are going to take the first sequence here. Here you can see the sample column where you can enter easily sample by just double clicking on a cell. So you can select one, but why not another one, as many as you want. Here you do the same to enter the reference. So you can double click and get a reference. And let's say that you want to compare these samples to the same reference. You just do double click, right click, sorry, and you say, okay, I want to copy that up to the line 9. So very quickly you can fill in the sequence. You can also, if your samples are coded, you can even enter different references automatically, because we build a database linking your sample names to your reference name. It's often the case in big companies. To remove a line, you click here, right click, let's say for start 5 and 10. Here you go. Every time you change a sequence, you have this little icon flashing, so to remind you to save the sequence. So let's save the sequence again. Now let's compare these two chromatograms. By a double click here, we are seeing this section, this page. So here we have the graphic representation that we saw previously, with at the top, as I said, the sample, at the bottom the reference, and in the middle the concordance or matching area. So when you see the line, the blue line means like the peaks are matching. Here you have a zoom of this section, so it's basically what you have in between these two green lines. And here you have the table with the retention time of the sample, the area of the sample, the retention time of the reference, the area of the reference. Here you can see the ratio, the relative ratio, and the absolute ratio, where we'll see a bit later on the settings. And here you have the missing points, the missing peaks. So for example, here we can see that on the reference there is a peak. So basically if you click here, you will reach the peak. And you can see there is a red peak here, meaning they are not matching. There is a missing peak on the sample, and you have another peak here on the sample which doesn't find the equivalent on the reference. Indeed, the client had mentioned the name of this molecule on the reference, but Concordance doesn't find the equivalent on the sample. It's just by studying a bit more his sample, but the client realized that it was actually some coumarin and not the allyl cyclohexylpropionate. So you can comment here for later, so it will stay on your chromatogram in Concordance. Here you can comment as well any peaks. So let's say you know here the name of the compound. So name compound you can change. Okay. And we are going to see these comments in the report. Just to finish with this part, you can see here in the zoom part some dots, red and blue. They are actually the peaks found by the neuronal calculation to find the equation. So here you can see that 110 peaks have been found for the equation, an equation of degree 3. And here you can see that in our visualization, we have 85 peaks above 0.1%. Okay, so now let's see the report. We have a report with a score. So the score here is the average of 3 scores, taking into account the variations of all peaks areas and the missing peaks. So this is the average of this calculation here, this calculation here, this calculation here. So when you are above 90, you can be satisfied, or depending as well on the missing peaks and so on, but it's a good score. You can see here the retention time of the sample, the area of the sample, the retention time of the reference, the area of the reference, and these peaks are here because they are out of the tolerance we fixed in the settings. So for example, in red, it means that we have a problem with the ratio and the absolute difference. So indeed, the ratio here is 23%, whereas we defined that we wanted a maximum, we were accepting peaks if the difference was maximum 20%. And here we say minimum of 0.5, but we are out. So here you can find the comment that I just added previously. Okay, so that's for the report, and most of the time the clients are using really, after using Concordance a few weeks, being happy with the settings and everything, they are basically most of the time looking at the report. So now let's look at the comparison between these same chromatograms, except that it's been 3 months later. So the same product, but here we have a lot of shifting linked to the aging of the column. If you go here, you can see that we are at 83 minutes on the sample, whereas we are at 80 minutes here. And same thing, Concordance is able to recognize that there is a problem at this level with the cyclohexylpropionate allyl, and which is not on the sample, and as we said before, it was because here it's the coumarin. So it means that with GCLC concordance, you don't need to inject the control sample or standard every time you control your samples. Let's open another sequence of essential oils. So basically here is really what the client is doing every day, controlling the sample to a standard. And here again, you can play with the zoom here as well, and here on for the X of the abscess. So here you can see you have a good score. You have, however, some missing peaks. If you look at the report, you can see indeed that we are some peaks missing. Nothing out of the tolerance we set up, but we have some peak missing. But as you can see, the area is very small, so it's really up to you to know if it's there are peaks which are important or not. Another functionality, if you want, say, to start automatically the comparison of all these lines, just need to click on Run the Sequence, and it will automatically process each line and open a report. So as I said, a lot of our clients are using the report to control their chromatograms. So this functionality is useful. You can see if we use the, we have all the report for each line. Okay. Let's open another sequence. So this time we are going here. You can see that the files are .csv. So before, maybe you noticed it was .dat. It doesn't matter too much for Concordance as long as it's ASCII files, and that we have the retention time and the area in our file. So let's compare these two chromatograms. Here you can see that it's coming like from a GCMS chem station. We have the names from the mass identification in the reference file. So from the GCMS chem station, we are finding the name in Concordance as well. So the advantage here is that you can correct in Concordance, because as you may know, sometimes you can have a bad interpretation of the peaks, wrong molecules, and you can correct it here and keep on your reference the new molecule if there was an error. Okay, so let's go back to our PowerPoint. Controlling the composition of a sample following the norms and specification imposed by your clients. So topic 2. Let's open another sequence where here we have a sample which has to respect the Hafner norm. It's a Lavandin sample. And we are not checking in this case all the peaks of the chromatogram, but what's of interest is to know if these peaks are in the norm imposed by your client. So to do that, you can enter here the name of the molecule and the inferior sign, the lower limit of concentration, the higher limit of concentration, and you close with a superior sign to define the norm. So you can do that for the line you want. And then in the report, you will see there is one molecule. I think you can see well. I'm going to make it bigger. There is indeed the cis-B oxymen, which is out of the concentration, because the concentration is 1.6, and out of the concentration we set up, which is the norm for this molecule. So very quickly you can make sure that your product has all the molecule in the norm. It's also possible to do some quality control and norm at the same time. As you can see here, the method name is norm. That's why the Concordance was able to calculate differently the two chromatograms and look at the different stuff. Now, if we open this norm, here we are in quality control mode, but we have an option here where you can as well define that you want the norm feature. So here, if we double click, you can see you have in the report at the same time the norm, but also the quality control for other picks. Okay, so now let's go to the last topic, automatic comparison of a complex chromatogram fingerprint to thousands of them within a few seconds. So we are going to open this sequence. So here we are going to compare an orange essential oil to a library. So a library basically is a directory with a lot of chromatograms. In our case here we have more than 1,000 chromatograms, and you're gonna see, I'm gonna double click here, and you're gonna see here the Concordance processing and comparing this sample to all the chromatograms within this directory. Obviously you can define the library the way you want. Let's double click and you see it's processing in live a comparison to find all the essential oils close to this orange, which is probably orange from Brazil. Or here you go. You have straight away the report with all the essential oils close to our essential oil here. So obviously the first one is finding in itself 100%. Then you have a rank of all the other orange. You can find here pamplemousse, different one, and a nice thing is automatically when Concordance process this way creates automatically a sequence with the name of the library, so it was lib, and the name of your chromatogram, your essential oils. And now you can, if I double click, we'll have everything in this table, so we can go deeper into details to check one by one our orange essential oil to others. So here again our clients mentioned some molecules here, and you can see the report. So it's very close, but there are some molecules maybe out of tolerance for the settings we have. But it's very, very practical feature. So let's see now for the origin of a product. Let's go back to our sequence. So for example here we have a geranium, the chromatogram of a geranium from Greece. Same thing, we're gonna compare it to many chromatograms, so like around 1000. Look at the speed of concordance. So it's processing, it's comparing each of them, and let's see what it finds. Indeed, among all the chromatograms, the 1000 chromatograms in the library or in the folder, if you prefer, it found the geranium from Egypt. So same thing. We can compare them to each other. Library geranium Greece. So first line you have it compared to itself, and here compared to Egypt. So let's see, with 57% of like the score of concordance, and you can now go and check your peaks. You see there are some peaks missing and so on, obviously, because the score is not perfect, but it was able to find the chromatogram of another geranium from another country. So for the origin of a product, that's also something quite impressive. Let's go back to our so some other applications of GCLC concordance: quality control in retention index or COVATS index. After the conversion of retention time to retention index, molecular identification in retention index mode, so COVATS mode, with personal database of retention index, a raw material identification in a mixture in retention index as well. So I hope you were able to see the benefits of GCLC concordance for your laboratory. It improves and simplifies the interpretation of complex products, remove the arduous nature of manual work, increase the accuracy of your quality control, increase the speed of your quality control, save your standard samples for months, as we saw, despite the 3 minutes shifting. We were concordance was able to identify the matching peaks and so on. So basically, it will reduce dramatically the cost of your quality control. The price of GCLC concordance at the moment is 4,600 euro or 5,000 US dollars. There is also an installation, training, support, and updates for 1 year for 450 euros or $490. So, if you have any question, don't hesitate to contact us. You have our website here. I hope you saw the advantages of GCLC concordance for your laboratory. We do one-to-one live presentation with your own data, so please feel free to contact us and we can arrange this. And do not hesitate to send us any question, as I said at the beginning, related to the presentation or to concordance in general, and enjoy the end of your day. I'm going to check if there are any questions. Any questions in the Okay, so thank you, Christine. So I guess let's keep in touch by email. If you have any question, don't hesitate again. And thank you very much again for following this quick presentation of GCLC concordance. Thank you. Bye-bye.